Welcome back to another episode of Important Miscellaneous Talks. I'm your host, Glass Crossfield, and we are changing the world one podcast at a time. And I'm very excited for this one. Please introduce yourself, the lovely Emyli. Spelled uniquely,
Hi.
by the way. Oh my goodness, I love the way it's spelled.
There's a Japanese pop singer that spells it the same way. She got there first, man. But that's okay. That's okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. So you just want me to introduce myself?
Yes, please.
Cool. What's up, guys? I'm a head coach and co-founder over at emlovz.com. I help men find love fast with my coaching program, Dating Decoded, and I teach them how to basically go on 20 dates in 90 days using my MegaDating philosophy, which I used back during my 100 date experiment to find love myself. And yeah, that's who I am.
So you said 20 dates in 90 days. Now, I think just me not being in the field that you're in, if you just ask enough women, you could probably get those numbers. So my question would be is, are they getting these dates with women that they desire or just any women?
Yeah, that's actually the whole goal. So every week you want to level up and be attracting women you're more excited about and more excited about. And the goal is really to fill up your dating funnel so you have so many options that you only have time to go out with the ones that you're most excited about. So it helps you to naturally level up until you get to the cream of the crop and you're like just absolutely blown away by what you can attract.
Do you recommend women follow a similar strategy?
I would, yeah, for sure. It's what I did.
Interesting. So you had 20 dates in 90 days as well.
I actually did 100 dates in a year, but most people aren't as crazy as me. So I make it a little smaller, and that usually is effective.
Wow,
So that's like 2 dates a week.
Uh-huh. Yep.
that's a lot of free meals.
Well, actually, what I learned during the experiment is you should never do dinner on a first or second date at all. So free meals do not equal love connection. Usually that actually puts you in, usually it attracts like gold digger women, or it
Yeah.
sets up a dynamic that's not effective.
Ah,
Yeah. So I teach my students to do fun stuff like donut dates, and you could do a ice cream date or like a cupcake date or something cheap and short. So, if you don't like the person, you're going to know in the first 30 seconds. If you don't like them, you don't have to commit to 3 hours and like $100 bill.
So when you went on 100 days, was it 100 different men or just 100 days?
It was 101 dates with 52 different men. So some people didn't really make it past the first date. That's really common. But some people made it to, I would count up to the third date. So maybe I dated somebody longer than 3 dates, but I didn't want to say, hey, I'm going on 100 dates with one person, if that makes sense.
Did you, at what point did you find somebody that, so the person from that experiment, are you with them today?
He's my fiance. We're planning our wedding.
wow,
So
congrats.
what date, congrats for real. Well, what date was he?
Like 50. There was like one after him that was not good. It made me realize, I was like, this is good. No, I mean, he was like a couple dates before 101, but he was guy 50.
Ah,
Yeah.
got you. Wow, so ironic you found him towards the end. So he's
Yeah,
go ahead.
like he just made the cut basically.
He did make the cut. He stood out though. When you compare and contrast enough people, it becomes really clear. When you find somebody high quality, you're like, wow. And it's interesting, like what is quality is not what you think when you first start. You first start and you're like, oh, I got to have that person who has the status and the bank account and the label. And by the end, you're like, no, actually, it's a person who's thoughtful, kind, like, listens. All of those things are actually way more important.
So if you hadn't found him, would you have picked from the pool of men or you would have just continued the dating?
I would have continued the dating.
Interesting. So the 49 men before him were obsolete.
I got attached to a couple of them, but interestingly enough, they were like really toxic. And one of the things that you can do with MegaDating is you can break toxic patterns. So if you're like, man, I'm always attracted to girls who use me. If you use MegaDating and you date rapidly, you could see those patterns in your selection process, and it helps to naturally heal them, because rather than focusing on one woman at a time, you're focusing on like a couple at a time. Maybe you're going on a first date with this girl, second date with this girl, third date with this girl. And you don't have that scarcity mindset. So you don't get stuck in a pattern that's toxic, that's not serving you, because you can see, man, that girl really kind of uses me. She kind of just trying to get free food, but that girl, she like offers to pay, and she's super like thoughtful, and she shows up on time. She doesn't flake and ghost on me. You know, you can really see clearly when you're comparing them.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm loving this. So not trying to get in your personal business. You said you also recommended this strategy for other women. So, you know, if they were to take that route, would they be having sex with 50 men or some of the men?
Good question. So I think everybody has their own policy with regards to physical intimacy, and MegaDating itself is not a sex philosophy, but it depends on what sex means to you, which is a really good question to ask on your dates. You want to know where the other person stands and what it means to you. For me, when I was doing the experiment, sex to me was play and fun and exploring. But the partner that I selected, when we had that conversation, he said, sex to me is something I only do with one person at a time. So it's serious. And to be honest, that kind of put him in a different category in my mind, because I was like, huh, okay, I better like treat him like, you know, it just wasn't going to be a booty call thing. And it kind of made me think of him as like, oh, this is a serious guy. So you can do it either way. And I do think it's important to find out if you have sexual chemistry, but if it doesn't resonate with you to sleep with more than one person, like at a time, you shouldn't do it. It's really up to you what feels right. And you should have that conversation with the partners that you're dating as well.
Interesting, interesting. So do you ask about sex the first date?
You can. Depends on the vibe that you have with somebody. But like the question, what does sex mean to you? I think you can ask it on a first date. Could be second, could be third.
So would you recommend some women get out of their system first before they find their mate?
For me, that was the right choice, because, you know, for me, sex is very important. Some people, sex is not very important. So it kind of depends on you and also what you're looking for in a partner. For me, I want to know that we have compatibility in that area because it's important to me. For other people, it might not be as important. And so they might not be looking for someone. Depends on your sex drive and what it means to you.
Mm, interesting. All right. Look like Prince, you had a question.
No, you're good. I'm still
So
thinking.
so some men truly care about a woman's body count, right? Especially when it comes to pursuing a woman for marriage. So how do you think it's fair for men to react negatively to women who have tried to get it out of their system before they get to you? Because a lot of men, as you know, I'm sure, you know, feel like, well, they got it for free, but now I have to, you know,
Work for it.
put up with more than the last guy did.
So you're saying like, is it okay for a guy to be not excited if a girl's had sex with a lot of people?
Yeah, since you seem to be okay with pushing the narrative that women should get it out of the system first, correct?
Yeah. Well, I think everybody needs to do what's right for them. I
Okay.
don't think that what's right for me is right for everybody. I'm just a sexual person.
Mhm.
I also live in a really sexually free area. Like, people are very open to sexuality here. I think you got to do what's right for you. And I think if you're uncomfortable with it, asking yourself like, why? Yeah, you want to be safe. So is it a safety concern? Are you concerned that your health is at risk? And I think you can have that conversation regardless of how many partners somebody's had. Is it because you're intimidated because you're afraid you're not going to perform as well as the other partners they've been with? That might be something more internal. So getting clear on like why it bothers you is important.
Okay.
I think everybody has their own right to their own preferences.
What about this wait 90 days foolishness?
Yeah, that wouldn't work for me, but it could work for some people. You know, there was people that I dated in the experiment that I really liked them until we had physical intimacy, and we just were not compatible. And I'm like, if I would have waited 3 months, that would have wasted everybody's time. But that's my perspective.
So were there some men that you were intimate with on the first date?
Yes.
So the men who weren't that you weren't intimate with on the first date, what was the difference between the one who got on the first date and the ones who didn't?
I did not look at them as boyfriend material. And I think that's what was interesting about my fiance now. Yeah.
So you said so the men who got it after the first date, they weren't boyfriend material.
Usually if I wanted to be physically intimate with someone sooner, I didn't categorize them as a serious contender. Like I may have been interested in them sexually, but not for a boyfriend.
Okay, so
That's not
I
fair.
think, yeah.
I
And
don't speak for all women. I will say I do not speak for all women on that.
Yeah, I get you.
Okay, so this is something that we typically find that's common. Of course, not everybody, but that's usually what we hear. So it's like, because I don't take this person seriously or I don't see it going far, yeah, I don't mind sleeping with them. But say a guy like Glass or myself, oh, I respect you, so I can't do that. And I'm looking at you crazy, like, treat me how you treat the rest. Because it's like, because it's like, okay, you don't see that person in that, or I guess us young people call it like a fuck boy, I guess, because the person is a fuck boy. Yeah, I fuck him, but I'll never, be in a relationship with him. But you who has, oh, I can see you being a husband, I can see you being a father, I can see something with you, I won't sleep with you. And to us, that's always been asked backwards. You should want to sleep with me more.
Right. I know. You know what's interesting and what I think causes that? I'm actually interviewing somebody today who wrote a really interesting piece about sometimes what happens in like sexuality is you want the person for sex that you wouldn't bring home to mom. And the person you bring home to mom maybe is not what you would want in sex. It's like a division of your sexuality. And so I'm speaking with somebody about that today. And I'm not a specialist in that. But what I think it is we all want what's hard to get. And so when a man says, no, I don't sleep with anyone on the first date, you're going to have to earn me. It's just the same as if a woman did that. Like you kind of want to see like, all right, this is interesting, right? That she's hard to get. She's not just going to give it up. Something about just being hard to get in that way, it like changes the way you think about them.
From the male point of view, it's like you see something with me long term, but I have to wait. And the guy that you see something with short term gets it that night.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that can be frustrating. But so with you and your fiance, if you don't mind me asking, were you guys intimate after the first date?
No, he turned me down.
So okay, you were interesting. So he turned you down because he was looking for something more serious.
That's right. I invited him to come up. He said, no, I don't do that this soon.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, whoa, okay. I
Wow.
felt a little rejected, but that made me work harder for him.
So second date?
I think it was a third date.
Oh, wow. That's a disciplined man right there.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's a good move. It's a good move.
Very disciplined.
Also separated him from other men that I dated at that time. That's why I was like, whoa, that's interesting.
Yeah, wow. Definitely third date too. So what inspired you to get into this field of work?
When I was in college, I was a political science major and we were studying social experiments. And I thought it was weird that there was an entire major devoted to politics, but only 30% of the population at that time even voted. And I was like, why is there not a major for dating when everyone has to date, right? And so as we were learning how to do social experiments, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to do my own experiment, like 100 dates in a year to really figure out what caused success and failure in dating and if love was even real, because I had no role models for that in my life. My parents were divorced and, well, actually my parents never got married, but my mom had been divorced a couple of times. So I just didn't even know if love was real. So I did this experiment and I would record videos giving feedback, not feedback, but I was just documenting the journey, and the guys that I dated would watch them. And they seemed to want that information because women wouldn't tell them what was going on. And so it kind of naturally evolved.
Why do you think women don't tell them?
Mm-hmm.
We are hardwired not to hurt people's feelings.
Interesting. Well,
we are.
You guys have unique ways of hurting people's feelings, but
that's true.
Exactly.
That's true. Yeah, women can be really, a lot of times it's more common for women to ghost. I don't know why, but it's like, so we're hardwired to nurture children, like as women, as a species. Doesn't mean that means every woman wants to have a child, but we're hardwired not to hurt a child's feelings. Like when a baby cries, a woman's reaction is like, it causes us physical pain in the body because we're supposed to help our species evolve. And as such, because we have that nurturing energy, it really is painful for us to disappoint other people. We don't want to be the cause of anybody's sadness. And that unfortunately leads to things like ghosting because people can't address the conflict.
But ghosting doesn't make it any better. Like, and I've noticed that amongst women, especially like when you meet a woman and she tells you about her past relationship and what went wrong or what she didn't like, and it's like, why didn't you tell your partner that? But you're telling your new partner that,
right?
But if you would have told them that, maybe it would have worked, or maybe they could have fixed something that that was bothering you. But it's like you said, oh, I don't want to. But it's like, to me, that's not being honest and transparent.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I mean, you want to look for women that are good communicators, that are willing to get uncomfortable in order to have things be healthy and sustainable. But just by nature, that's something that we have to learn. It's not innate. We kind of want to avoid that type of conflict usually.
So is that more common in men, to where it's like we cut the bullshit out and we want to address whatever it may be?
Yeah, it's that. It's also related to attachment style, because there's some men that also avoid conflict too. But I think women have a more of a tendency to avoid it.
A hurt woman is definitely way more direct with her, way more direct with her communication style.
Yeah.
So definitely, they're not afraid to hurt anybody once they reach that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what do you think men struggle with the most in dating?
I think right now is so hard for men. I think it's hard for both of the genders because we're in like a major calibration phase where women, we have been somewhat oppressed for a really long time and kind of just figuring it out. And so we're mad, right? But I think that we're going from one extreme to the other. And now it's like, don't do this, don't approach, don't say these things. That's sexual harassment. And it's confusing the crap out of men who are like, well, I don't even know what to do, So I think the biggest issue is just men trying not to be creepy because they don't want to get slapped with a sexual harassment case.
Do you think that feminism has played a role in that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the pendulum swung from one extreme to the other, and that over time will calibrate into a healthy medium. But right now, I think there's just so much tension between the sexes, and there's a lack of respect from both sides. Not everybody, but I think that that's just a common, like, women are angry because they're just realizing these things that had happened. And then now men are angry because the women are like lashing out. Whereas if we could all see each other respectfully and say, hey, look, I don't like what happened in the past, but I'm not going to swing so hard the other way that it creates more tension in the future. I think we just need to understand each other more and respect each other more, which is really my goal in coaching, is to help each other. Like, I speak woman. I'll teach you how we think and why we do the things that we do, but also look for women who respect you. And I teach my students how to find those types of women. Does she offer to pay? If she's not offering, it's a bad sign. Doesn't mean you're going to let her pay, but the offer should be there. Yep.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, I say men should pay, but the offer should be there. But you should reject the offer, but the offer should be there. So
yeah.
Expect to pay. And back in the days, women had way less rights than they do now. So when you say the pendulum swung, it's an overcorrection.
Yes, I think so.
We at now. So what do you think women struggle with the most in dating?
Distrust. I think it is really dangerous for women. If you ever watch like the Tinder Swindler, or there's so many like scary shows about what could happen to women when they're dating online and things like this. I think there's a lot of distrust and fear, and just a lot of abrasiveness. And so I think women are just like, a lot of them are just closed off to men, and blanket statement kind of, oh, I don't want to date because men are this. And you really have to be like, no, that's like some men, but there are so many different humans on the planet. You just got to find the people who are respectful, who communicate, who are interested in what you're interested in.
Do you believe in what's that thing called? Love at first sight?
Yes.
That's interesting. Yeah,
you
love.
No, of course not.
Of course not. Why not?
It sounds very It sounds very Disney Channel, High School Musical-esque, you know?
Yeah.
That's the vibe that gives me. I don't know if you could just see somebody and be like, oh, you know, Cupid just hit me, and you know.
Especially as a man, like honestly, we believe in lust at first sight.
Oh
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
so
Could
maybe
be.
a woman is different, but love, the first time seeing them is for a man anyway, because you know we're more physical with the outer appearance. So we're gonna be thinking about other things before love.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you could have both for sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Interesting.
What do you think a woman's role in a relationship is?
Ooh, that's tough.
I'm testing people either way.
Well, a woman's role, man, we're super like equal, my partner and I don't think a woman's role is, well, man, it's so hard to say. So traditional gender roles, right? Woman's at home, man's out working. That's cool if that's what you're into. That's totally cool. But if somebody tries to put that on somebody, like this is how it should be, I think that's a problem. So a woman's role in the relationship, I think naturally, if you look at it from evolutionary psychology perspective, we are nurturers and we're creators. We create life and we nurture life. So that might be my simplistic answer. Men simplistically protect, right? Keep the woman safe, and I think you can do that as a woman too, but I think evolutionary psychology might show evidence that really a woman chooses a mate for protection. And actually, women, from an evolutionary psychology perspective, it's access to resources, but I don't think that's necessarily true nowadays because women are earning more and more. So simplistically, I think safety and protection is what the man would be simply, and then woman is creative and nurturing.
So you believe that a woman's more nurturing nature, they should be nurturing their men, correct? As well as the children.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think that's a natural tendency.
So what are some of the ways a woman can tend to that nurturing side for their men?
Well, if you like to cook, by all means, that could be one way you do it. It's not how I do it. I don't know how to cook very well. But I do it in my relationship by communicating, making sure that if I see that, my partner's having a bad day, like if he needs to talk about it, I want to be supportive. If something's going wrong, I want to support him and see if I can help in any way. If I can take the pressure off of him in some way, maybe I can take him to dinner or just do something to make him feel special. So nurturing in that way, like if I see that he's upset or if he did something really amazing, then I help him to celebrate that, might do something special.
What are some of the ways a man can be protective over the women?
Yeah, I teach my guys all these things. So walk her to her car if she'll let you, always. Walk on the outside of the street in case a car comes up.
Rule, Jesus.
Yeah. Give her your jacket if it's cold.
Also, I see him shaking his head. That's why I laugh.
You don't like it?
No,
I mean,
I've done the jacket thing. I've done
I
the
guess-
outside sidewalk thing too, but some girls take it way too far. Like they'll drag you over there. Like, oh, bro, relax.
Or you want me to take my jacket and throw it over a puddle? Like, come on.
I'm not putting over.
No,
puddle.
I wouldn't do that. That's
No.
weird.
Just walk around the puddle, right?
This is not
Yeah.
a cheap jacket either, so.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be throwing it on a puddle. No.
No.
Just,
no.
if somebody creepy comes up, making sure that you walk like closer to that person to keep her safe, those types of things.
Got you. Well, what would you say to someone who says you're not qualified to talk about these things because you're a woman?
I mean, I speak woman. I can tell you if something's going to work or not. I'm not ever going to teach you to cold approach on the street because it never worked for me. Like I'm going to tell you what worked on me, period.
So what are some of the better strategies that, help men acquire women that they're highly attracted to?
Dating apps. I know everybody hates dating apps, but if you know how to set them up, they're the most effective and efficient tool ever. The thing is, most people don't know what they're doing.
That's one. And two, it's it's way different for men on the dating apps than it is for a woman. It's way
Yeah.
101 dates is probably a light year for a woman if she wanted to, with just one dating app. So what are some of the things that men can do to stand out on a dating app?
Yeah, so I teach in my program like the 6 photo archetypes you want to have on your profile so that you don't look like a killer. That's really what we're thinking the first time we see somebody's photo is like, is this guy a killer? So I teach my guys not to look like that, right? And you would be surprised as a man, like what qualifies someone to look like a killer? Oh, it's like a lot of things that you wouldn't think of. You know, a lot of times people try to look cool in their photos. When you look cool, you look scary, right? You can't try to look cool. So I teach the archetypes and then how to test your photos. You really want to test your photos to see how competitive they are. A really great resource that I recommend is photofeeler.com. You can test your photos against the age range that you're looking to date. And your goal is to be in the top, ideally, if you could be in top 10% attractive. Doesn't happen usually the first photo you test, but you learn as you use that tool, you'll learn how to take a better photo and what people think about the photos that you're using.
You said photofeeler.com.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Do you think that the dating apps are a good place for a man to find a wife?
Totally. Yeah.
What are some of those apps?
Hinge, number 1.
I hear Hinge a lot.
Bumble, number 2.
I'm hearing it more and more that it is a viable place to find a wife. However, the well, Tinder was first created for hookups. That was the original reason why the app became an app in the first place. Hinge was kind of directed towards relationships more, but men in general, like we're trying to get our rocks off, right? So what kind of like evidence you have to that's viable to prove that Hinge is an app for wives?
Oh, like all of the people in my program that have gotten into relationships from it.
And it's normally Hinge, but like it's a wide gap,
What do you mean?
as in like in comparison to the other apps. It's like Hinge
Yeah.
way above them.
Hinge is way above them. I still recommend being on 5 because you could be shadow banned. You could have something not working correctly. It could be a technical glitch. So you don't want to rely on just one, but Hinge, like by far, everywhere that I have a student, Hinge works the best.
Nah, Hinge got some heat. I'm not gonna hold you. It do got some heat. They got some fire joints on Hinge.
There are 5 dating apps. I know like 3 major ones.
Oh, there's tons of dating apps. Yeah. So I would recommend Hinge, Bumble, Tinder. Actually, it depends on how you set it up, whether it's a hookup app or not. I know a lot of people who've been married from Tinder. Facebook dating is pretty good. It can be hit or miss. And then Coffee Meets Bagel are my top recommendations.
Interesting.
Depending on where you're located, that might change. And also depending on like your religion or like different aspects of you, that might change, but those are the most common recommendations.
Okay. So what about with the dating apps? If how would you break this down? Like, let's say I'm lit in certain places and in other places I'm not. So like, I might get a few matches in New York, but if I go to Colombia or if I go to another country, I'm the bee's knees. What? I'm the hottest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you explain that?
Yeah, we just did a couple videos on this about the macro versus the micro. And the macro is like, so the micro is like, hey, let me optimize my profile photos. Let me learn how to communicate better. Let me get better clothes. The macro is like, what happens if I change my environment? And we've seen a lot of people, especially like New York is really good for men. There's more single women in New York than other cities. So it's the easiest place to meet women. But yeah, going to another country sometimes elevates you because now you're exotic to that country. You have an accent to them. You're from this other place. You're interesting. You're sexy. Like it's interesting. And it depends on where you go. I was just talking to one of my students from Iran who's like 6'6". And in Iran, when he lived there, that was like not cool to be that tall. And then he came out to San Francisco and he's like hot tamales out here because height is cool in America. But it just depends.
Interesting. So, wow. That's very. So, here's another interesting tidbit. Because a lot of these apps are mostly men on these apps looking for women. So, oftentimes, you got to hit the paywall and you got to put up some dough. So, Is that something that your students run into a lot, where you just, as a man, you have to pay?
You have to. You have to.
Yeah, nowadays, yes. When they were newer apps, no, but only pay if you know that you have a competitive profile. So make sure your photos are performing well on Photo Feeler. And then, I teach people how to set up their profile so they're leveraging the keywords they use on their profile, because part of the apps, how they match you with people, is the keywords you use. So if you put fun on your profile, you're going to match with women who also use the keyword fun on their profile. So we strategically design it so you're attracting exactly who you want. But if you know that your profile is competitive, then yeah, definitely upgrade, because they're going to limit how many people you can see, and they're not going to show you the best of the best.
Oh, wow, these apps, they're scoundrels, I tell you.
Gotta
But
make money.
they're getting pricey. Like Hinge, I think Hinge lost their mind. Hinge used to be affordable. They got a little hot. They don't know how to act no more.
If you travel and you upgrade it in a different area, like New York is probably gonna be super expensive. San Francisco is super expensive too. But if you travel somewhere like less popular and you upgrade to a limited or a lifetime,
like Idaho or
it's
someplace
cheaper. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say less.
What's the best way for a man to increase his confidence and to maintain it?
That's a good question. I think for my students in the program, it's really MegaDating. It's just living the process of dating multiple people. The first date you go on, you might be super nervous, but exposure, which is really what it is, it's just exposure therapy. The more you do, and I teach them how to stack dates. So like on a Saturday, let's say you go on a date at 11, another date at 1, and another date at 3. By the time the 3 o'clock date rolls around, you don't have any energy to be insecure. Like you just are zapped, right? So you're naturally going to be more authentic and confident. And the more you do it, it's like socializing yourself. Like you're getting so much experience that pretty soon you have confidence because you've had so much exposure.
Interesting, man. We might have to, yo, Prince, we gonna make a date, bro?
Nah, we might have to, for real.
I don't think I can do 100 in a year, but maybe maybe I could bust out 50. 50 is still a lot. Maybe 20. I don't know.
Yeah.
20 in a
and
month,
90.
I think it's reasonable. Maybe 20 in 1 month.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
I'd be impressed.
I'll be falling asleep on dates.
Remember, you got to take notes after so you don't get them mixed up with each other too.
Yeah, that's it.
Yo,
Yeah.
that is freaking horrendous. Oh my goodness. Well, what are some of your thoughts on the red pill and manosphere space?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I accidentally got in a little YouTube fight with the manosphere space. I think it's Tribe of Men. They're angry. They're angry with me.
Oh, really? I mean, I want to interview him too, man.
He's a charismatic speaker, I'll tell you that. But yeah, no, I think the whole like, I'm just gonna be celibate and I'm just gonna like no women. I don't know. Are you winning if that's what you're doing? Like, do you feel like you're winning to just never have contact with women and never have sex? Like, I don't feel like that's
who's gonna be celibate. That's crazy.
Well, isn't that kind of like the idea of it? Like,
have you watched their stuff?
I watched one of their videos. I did a reaction to one of their videos and it made me sad. I think like it's a defense mechanism. You get hurt, maybe you get divorced, or you have some woman who is not like a respectful woman who takes you to court or takes all your money or does whatever happens to some people. Then you develop like this anger and you feel like, oh, it'd be better to just stay away from women. And that's really a defense mechanism. So, I mean, if that's what's going to make you happy, cool, but I wouldn't be happy.
From my findings, I think generally speaking, the idea is for men to focus less on women, to focus more on their purpose, to focus more on improving themselves, and the byproduct of that improvement will be women. To kind of play the long game, focus less on dating now, focus more on improving yourself mentally, physically, financially, and the woman will come along the journey.
Yeah, I think it's good to like, you got to be purposeful. Like you have to be on track with your purpose for sure, especially as a man. And I think, yeah, having like your finances in order, feeling confident in your body, all of that's really important. But at some point, like the man is the hunter. The woman's not going to like knock on your door and say, hey, can I be your girlfriend? Just not going to happen.
Yeah, and they mentioned in the manosphere that just like biologically speaking, men have more time. So like we can focus more on that stuff later on down the line. But it's important to understand women, because you can't just be work, 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 work and never talk to women and expect to just wake up 35 and just have all these women waiting for you once you're a millionaire. No, they implore you to talk to women, but don't, because for a lot of men, women can be a distraction.
Sure.
Right. And you know, you mentioned how important the purpose is. So they're just asking them to prioritize the purpose, understand women, interact with them, but don't make that the center of their lives. And I'm sure that you've noticed in your line of work, some men, a lot of women are really truly the center of their lives. So
Yeah. I think again, I would do MegaDating because you can get so stuck on one person, or you can get so wrapped up in a toxic cycle with a woman that it's really your attachment to that, either that one person or your attachment to this toxic cycle. I've seen it so many times, especially if you're involved with like a narcissistic woman. But if you MegaDate, it protects you from that. It's like the cure for attachment. You're not going to attach easily to any one person. So you're not getting so absorbed in dating for dating's sake. It's more like an experience. It's honestly like a transformation for yourself. You learn so much more about yourself and how you're showing up, that I would argue that, you know, it's not like an obsession with dating. You're actually learning about yourself and what you want and need, and also how to communicate that. So yeah, in essence, I think it is important for you to be on purpose and to feel confident. And if that requires you to take a step back from dating and then wait until you're really ready, that's cool.
so it seems like mega dating seems to be your ultimate solution. Now you make it seem very simple. So what are some of the what are you make it seem easy. So how does one mega date?
Yeah. Well, you mean like how do they fill up their funnel so that they can go on that many dates? Or what do you mean?
I mean, because if I wanted to mega date right now, I probably just can't wake up and just go mega dating, right? So what are some of the things I would need to do in order to, be the mega date guy?
Yeah. So jump on 5 apps. Those ones I recommended would be good. Test your photos on Photo Feeler. Make sure they're competitive. If they're not, I can help with that. You could reach out to me and I can show you how to fix them. But get your photos really competitive. Dial in your profile so that you're leveraging keywords that are important for compatibility. That's all what I teach in the program. And then message 10 women a day. And I also teach how to message. So don't say hi. Don't say, hey, what's up, baby? None of that.
But you have to get matches. You have to get 10 matches first before you can message someone. Oh wait, it was 5 apps though. Okay.
You don't actually have to wait for matches. You can, especially on Hinge, you can message without matching.
On Hinge?
That's true. Yeah. You're right. You're right.
Is
You
that
can
the
also
good?
you can also use social media. So a lot of women, especially on Bumble, will put their social media handles, and then you can message them on Instagram, Facebook. That's what a lot of smart guys are doing.
Being a DM's heavy. Yep.
Yeah, jump in the DMs.
Okay, so all right, let's say 10. How much would you expect out of the 10 to respond to you?
In the beginning, probably 1 of 10. So 10% response rate's average, 20% is exceptional. So it's a numbers game. It really is. You do 10 every single day, you're going to get, on average,
5 a
2
week.
responses. Yeah. And then from there, converting that into a date, which is something that I teach. I teach how to message quickly. So no like becoming pen pals back and forth forever, because it's going to fizzle. You got to get on that date fast. And then you do a low stakes date. So it's not a lot of pressure. No dinner, like ice cream date, cupcake date, something cute. Go to the dog park.
I can see how that works. You message 10 women a day. One gets back to you. That's about, if you're doing the weekdays anyway, that'll be 5 to 7 girls. And then I can see how the dates can add up.
Yeah. And then you get to the point week after week, this funnel starts to build so much that pretty soon you're like, holy crap, I can't go. Like if I can only do 2 dates a week, let's say that's all the time I have 10 women who want to go on a date with me. I have to choose the best of those 10. And you keep doing that. And it's like, whoa, these women are like, I feel like they're out of my league, but what you're doing is leveling up.
Interesting. Yeah, so because at the end of the month, that's 25 to that's 25 to about 28 women. No, my math is off. That's 5 times 4, which would be 20 to 28 women. 20 to 30 women almost.
That respond. And then
Yeah.
how good is your game to convert to a date, right? Which is what I teach. How do you convert it into a date? And then how many of those dates become second dates? How many do you want to see again? And so you naturally become more selective.
So what the strategy that I've been implementing just for myself is a woman has to show a level of investment before I take her out on a date. So is that something that you recommend, or is just like, okay, she's attractive, I just want to take her out on a date, even if it's low leverage? I still rather her show some level of interest back in me before I take her out on a date.
Yeah, I would too. That would be part of my qualifier. Are you going on dates with women that you're really excited about?
Hmm. Interesting, man. I see why they pay you the big bucks, man. I see why you mentioned purpose earlier. What do you think your purpose is?
To help, well, I mean, I feel like I help women by helping men, but it's really to help people find love and to heal their attachment style so they can.
And you mentioned that it's especially important for men to be on a purpose, which I agree with. But why do you think that is?
Um, Probably it goes back to evolutionary psychology. Like man is naturally the hunter, and I don't know, it's just like a natural part of I think women need purpose too. I totally do. I just think our purpose tends to be a little bit different, like a little more related to nurturing. That's why I like this role that I play. I nurture men. I help them to reach their full potential by showing them how great they can be. So I think a man has to be on purpose because a woman doesn't want to follow somebody who's not a leader. And if he doesn't know where he's going, nobody's going to be attracted to him. It's not
Mm.
about money. It's about, this is my dream and I'm going for it.
What are some of the things that you would tell your daughter when it came to dating?
Don't have sex on a first date.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which is funny. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't though, because then it makes it more, everybody works harder and it's a little more interesting. Well, I don't know. What else would I say? Make
You
sure he's nice and thoughtful, which a lot of people overlook that. A lot of people are like, does he have a job? You know, is he impressive? Does he make this much money? It doesn't matter.
mm.
I think
Good.
one thing I noticed when it comes to dating, especially online dating, is that a lot of women will put, know how to hold the conversation. But then when a conversationalist like me comes along, I'm confused because you can't hold that conversation. You know what I'm saying? And I think what Glass is saying I think one way to show that you're interested, especially for us, is knowing how to hold a conversation. So one word answers,
Yeah.
or just being so brief is like, what is this? You just said in your bio, know how to hold the conversation.
If she's not asking me questions back, I automatically
Yeah, for real. For real. And
if
that's a
she's not
big
asking me
thing.
back, I just say, bro, you're not that interested, and I just
Well, it could be
Yeah.
simple. Like I did that yesterday. It was like, oh, how are you? Whatever. I mean, I have uh, my little, I don't know what you want to call it, my little intro that I made that I throw in, and it usually works. So it's like, then the how are you comes, and then it's like you don't even say it back. So I'll come back and say, oh, I'm good. Thanks for asking. And then they'll laugh. You laugh, but then I'll unmatch. Who's really laughing?
Yeah. Well, so people, how are you? Is like, there's no momentum behind it. So maybe I would challenge you. I agree. You got to have a woman who's interested, but also shouldn't know what to say. How are you? Hi,
What?
how are you?
I'm
Hi, how are
fine.
you? And 99% of other dudes are saying that. So you got to be different than them. And you got to speak to something compelling to her emotionally on her profile.
okay.
That's going to
Okay.
get her talking.
This is how I started always, and I said it to everybody. You know, it is what it is. So it's like I'll start it with like I'll hit the message and I'll be like, you caught my eye and attention. Well, what is it? You caught my eye and attention. I will shit. Let me pull it up. Give me 1 second because this is fire. I'm not gonna hold you.
So while
I
while
have this.
while he's doing that, do you think it's difficult for single mothers to date? And what are some strategies that you would give them?
Yes, I think it's really hard for them. There is no I mean, you got to say it. You got to let people know. And it's going to be polarizing. Some people aren't going to like it, but you don't want to bait and switch somebody. It's going to come out. So I would just be really honest and upfront.
Got you. Prince, the lady has to go, so please scurry.
Yeah. No, I got it now. So it's like my thing is, you caught my eye and attention. I was hoping we could talk and get to know each other better. That's usually my intro for everything. And I
Oh.
usually always get a response. What do you think?
I don't know. I think I think there's room for potential. Like there's some room for growth there. Like, okay, if you're talking to a girl, when you look at her profile, can you tell what she wants you to talk to her about?
She probably
No.
says, you know, girls put the corny things in there, bro. If you see her like on a boat, it says, bro, when's the last time you've been on the boat? Something like that, you know, something that will it will have, you know, more to say than just I'm fine, you know.
Okay, but when they say I'm fine, I hit you with the, or if they ask me, how about you? I'll be, hey, I'm good now that I'm talking to you.
So then what is she supposed to say after that? That's
No,
hard
they
for her
always
to
be
say
like,
something.
Hey, Lindo.
They always go, oh, that's so cute. Do you really mean that? Or you probably say that to a million other girls.
But you are.
Yeah, I am.
I think a lot of the women want to feel unique. They don't want to feel like, okay, like these are the kind of the same cookie cutter lines they're getting from, you know, other women, or that men are giving out to other women.
All right, cool.
You gotta put some thought behind it. Listen, bro, I know we all want it to be easy. We do. But you gotta put some thought behind it, bro. I get it.
Now we gonna chop it up. Yeah, we gonna run this back.
Gotcha.
Hey, I will challenge you. If you guys want to do MegaDating and you want to commit to 20 dates in 90 days, I'm looking for people for my documentary who would film the before and after of each date, and then I would coach you in exchange for that for free. So that's something to think about if you're open to it. I do think there's some opportunities for improvement in the messages.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Think about it. Think about it.
For real.